Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. So today on the program, we have a great show planned for you with lots of computer and technology news. We are going to digest the day, and it's we had a whole weekend full of big events and big stories. And if you haven't been paying attention, I believe it's called the Microsoft Builders event or something like that. I'll get the exact name later on in the program. But essentially, there's going to be a lot of announcements from Microsoft. They recently had a large keynote that they, showed off their new browser and some new things with Cortana and Microsoft Office Suite and things like that. Yeah, a lot of their productivity, but we feel you should hear about it as well. So everyone, hey, welcome to the Computer America Show, and hopefully you are ready for, our show today. So everyone, let's go ahead and, before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including today's show notes. That's where you'll find, you'll find articles, reviews. We should have a new article up this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. That will be one of a series of gift ideas for Mother's Day, because Mother's Day is in about a week or two. I should probably know the exact day of that, but high-tech stuff and tech stuff and stuff for your technology make great gifts for mom. So with that being said, check out computeramerica.com as well as the live video feed, and on top of that, the show notes, which will have links to anything and everything that we talk about here today. And I think that's just about it. So let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. Here we go. All right, everyone. So I think for our first, we are going to go deep into the weeds of a potential leak. And I like leaks because, hey, you get to see what companies and industries are doing before it actually happens. So, of course, the WWDC, which is the Worldwide Developer Conference, usually it's of course run by Apple. And you get to see what new toys developers get to play with, and you can pretty much take from that what you are going to be seeing this holiday season. So this is a sneak peek to what you will be seeing this year from Apple. So check out this article. This came to us from Tom's Guide. Great publication. And let's go ahead and get started. Saying that, of course, with WWDC less than a month away, we expect to get our first look at iOS 13 very soon. And according to a new report from Bloomberg, this update figures to be a big one overall, which you could expect. Whenever we go from, let's say, 11 to 12, that's a much more substantial update than, let's say, you went from 11 to 11.1. So these large iterative updates, they bring usually new operating system, new features, changes the look in a pretty substantial way. And so let's go ahead and see what we can expect from this year's iOS 13 update. Saying that for sure, what iPhone and iPad users we'll know for sure what iPhone and iPad users are in store for on June 3rd. Until then, here's the latest on all new features coming to us in the iOS 13 per the Bloomberg report. And, we're just going to cover these in kind of a general overview kind of sense. But the first one I am ecstatic about. I don't know why it took developers and tech industry so long to really give people what they've been demanding, even if they haven't known it. And the answer to this is dark mode. Dark mode has been coming to a lot more has been a lot more asked for in a lot of different apparatuses, either from browsers or even phones or within particular apps. Dark mode is a really, really good thing, and it improves battery life. It's easier on your eyes. Overall, I'm happy to see it. So, first one, dark mode. The earliest rumors we heard regarding the new feature of iOS 13 was the introduction of dark mode, something Apple finally delivered to its Mac users in last year's Mojave update. Users on the mobile side have been requesting similar treatment for a while now, and Bloomberg has offered yet more confirmation that we'll see the feature debut on iPhones and iPads later this year. There you go. And of course, that that will be accessible through the control center. You will have to turn that on. It won't be default, but essentially it will change the system theme from prioritizing white backgrounds to a black and gray scheme, which will likely cut down on power consumption for devices that use OLED screen, just like iPhones. So the first one, great, dark mode, can't wait for it. Next one, new and improved health app, saying that health tracking has been a part of iOS for years now, but Apple is eyeing a refresh for the app in this year's iOS update. The landing screen will reportedly be overhauled to offer a better snapshot of your daily activity, which, hey, there's already kind of like a status report on how you use your device. And if you keep your device on you when you exercise, when you work out, and especially if you're using things like Fitbit or any kind of fitness tracker, it will be able to offer you some great information on just what, on how you're sleeping, how your activity level's going, if you track your calories and things like that. It will give you your nutrition, things like that. Information is key here with getting healthier. Trust me, I'm like a week into a new diet and man, this sucks. But having the information at my fingertips is definitely helping me, kind of stay on track. So I'm all for this. Now, the next one, iMessage gets profiles and stickers. So this is kind of like, you can think of Facebook Messenger or any other, of these features that let you kind of create an avatar. Maybe Snapchat would be a more applicable comparison where, just iMessage goes from just being your phone number to a profile with images, pictures, and, something for everyone. Next one, share sheet and downloads management. Don't really care. Screen time gets contact control. So obviously, after facing criticism for imposing new restrictions on parental control apps, Apple will reportedly implement some features from those third-party apps into screen time. Chief among them will be the ability to let parents decide who their children can contact and when. So more strict children and parental controls on iPhone devices. Not the worst thing in the world. Not at all. More powerful bedtime features, which I think are great. They can also trigger do not disturb, silencing, screen dimming, things like that. Sleep mode function is getting better. There you go. Let's see, swipe typing, don't really care about. The swipe, and don't get me wrong, swipe typing, for those of you who don't know what swipe typing is, that lets you type words without lifting your finger from your keyboard. And when you get used to it, when you get used to the idea of, never lifting your finger and just kind of gliding your finger from one letter to the next, it's much faster. Like, that's how the world record in texting, yes, they have those, the world record in texting actually gets set. And that's by using swipe to text. Well, it's great. It's just, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. And yes, it's more efficient, but you don't have to actually do it. So there you go. They're tweaking a couple of their more popular apps, books, maps, reminders, and mail, and lots of iPad-centric upgrades, which are great because Apple has really neglected their iPad lineup. So I'm all for that. It looks like a pretty good update, and looking forward to see what Apple actually unveils at the WWDC. Now, with Yeah, there you go. So let's go ahead and talk about all these different updates. And again, that one's Apple. We're gonna have a lot for Microsoft. Maybe we'll try to group that into the second part of the show. But yeah, Microsoft just had a big keynote, so we're gonna focus on that. Although I will say, Apple and Microsoft seem to be really dominating the headlines today. But let's talk about something that hey. Let's talk about something that is neither one of those. Neither one of those. For everyone out there that grew up playing Pokemon, and yes, guilty as charged, this article, I like it. Christine Fisher from Engadget, playing Pokemon as a kid may have rewired your brain. Which, to be fair, don't most experiences, and especially using any kind of computer or any kind of technology, don't most of your experiences when you're a kid rewire your brain? But looks like it's in a specific way. So if you played Pokemon video games extensively as a kid, there's a good chance that a specific region of your brain gets fired up when you see the characters today. In a recent study, researchers from Stanford University showed test subjects hundreds of Pokemon characters, and as you might expect, the brains of longtime Pokemon fans responded more than those unfamiliar with the game. It makes sense. I mean, obviously, if you played the game, if you have experience associated with them, if you caught them, if you fought them, if you experienced playing the game, then obviously your memories will be triggered when you see the images again. But what's more surprising is that in all of the fans, a specific brain fold responded, an area just behind the ears called the occipitotemporal sulcus. I'm sure I messed that up wonderfully, but the point is, one particular part of the brain activates if you are a longtime Pokemon fan, saying that scientists already knew that humans have specific areas of the brain used to recognize faces, words, numbers, and even celebrities like Jennifer Aniston, Bill Clinton, and Kobe Bryant. Those areas of the brain are often in the same place for large groups of people. A recent study by Harvard Medical School found that for monkeys to develop similar regions, they need to be exposed to objects from a young age. The researchers at Stanford wondered if the same were true in humans, and Pokemon fans proved the perfect subjects, as most began playing when they were quite young, and because the characters are so unique. That's a really cool idea for a study. I really, really like that. So, obviously, they're treating Pokemon as celebrities, as something that is really that spans a large group of people, and they're wondering if all of them store that same particular experience in the same part of the brain, which is good research. So the findings support the theories that early childhood exposure is necessary for developing dedicated brain regions, and that from an early age, our brains change in response to experiential learning. So obviously, what you experience is what makes a bigger impact on you. Now, because the fold activated by characters like Pikachu, Wobbuffet, and Bulbasaur is the same fold that responds to images of animals, the researchers also believe that there's some kind of underlying constraints hardwired into the brain that determine how those changes happen. So, with that being said, just a fun article, and obviously the article is going to draw a conclusion, with the new Detective Pikachu movie coming out, but yeah, it turns out that you can be a lifelong fan when you are experienced to, or when you are exposed to different things at a very, very young age. Hey, you are going to have a much stronger affinity for that, i.e., things like Pokemon. I like that. That was fun, and yeah, again, kind of timely. So there you go. Let's go ahead and move on. Lots of different stories. Okay, how about this one? It's not Microsoft. It's not Apple, but it is Google. So Google, there's like two big stories involving Google, and the first one here is this one, that Google may let users limit tracking in Chrome. which is cool. It's kind of like hearing Google Chrome will be introducing or has introduced an ad blocker, where you think, wait, Google, the ad company, is introducing ad blockers? And by the same token, Google Chrome may let users limit tracking. So you think, why is the advertising company limiting tracking of its customers, or at least its users? Maybe not even so much customers as much as users. And obviously, John Fingus, this is from Engadget, and it would be good news for privacy, not so much for advertisers. Although I have to say, any advertisers out there listening, first of all, support the show. Second of all, it's okay to not know the exact birthday, the exact weight, the exact hair color, the exact eye color, the exact fingerprint. It's okay, advertisers, to not know every minute detail of an audience to be able to advertise to them. The idea that you could target, like hyper focus and hyper target your customers through really specific advertising, it's more of a turnoff than it is beneficial. Like, it may work, and don't get me wrong, it works. Like, they wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't working. But over time, you start to get this feeling of being invaded, or at least your privacy being compromised. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have felt that. So any advertisers out there listening, it's okay to just kind of do a more blanket approach than this hyper-focused targeting. You're going to get more goodwill, I think, overall. But I digress. Google might not be done tightening privacy controls. According to the Wall Street Journal, contacts claim that the search firm is poised to launch a dashboard-like element in Chrome that would not only show the details about tracking cookies, but give you options to limit them. And while the concept isn't novel, saying that Mozilla practically builds Firefox around tracking protection, it would be a significant break for the company whose very business revolves around advertising and user data, which is true. I mean, but as the point that they made with the ad blocker, and you're wondering why is Google implementing ad blockers, Google will still show you ads, and just the same way, Google will still track you through the Chrome browser. It's just more to the fact that, hey, we only want to collect a certain amount of information. Like, we want acceptable ads to be placed in front of our users, so no pop-ups, nothing misleading, nothing explicit, just good ads are okay. Invasive, controlling, manipulative ads are bad, or misleading ads are bad. We don't want those in front of our users. And that was the point with the Google Chrome ad blocker. I think this is getting to the same thing, where yes, you could theoretically put a tracking cookie on a person who visits your website. You could put a tracking cookie in their browser, and then you would know everywhere that they visited before you. You would know everywhere that they visited after you. You would know how they interacted with your website, how long they looked at each page, what they clicked on, so on and so forth. You would get all that hyper-focused data on them. It's just Chrome, Google kind of thinks that, hey, it might be better for people to, have a bit more of that privacy and a little bit less to the advertisers. It's going to be healthier overall. So with that being said, the article continues, while the tools would come as a relative surprise to users, they've apparently been 6 years in the making. In addition to technical concerns, Google reportedly talked to advertising executives to gauge their opinions on a hypothetical scenario due to the seriousness of the change. And while the tracking cookies aren't as heavily used as in the past, saying that many advertisers still use them for targeting. These marketers may have to rethink their strategies, knowing that Chrome users can easily disable tracking. And again, I'm all for that. I will say that that for users out there who use Do Not Track or delete their cookies or things like that, cookies are helpful in a lot of ways. They let you, it maybe auto-completes search fields for you, or your username and your password. Those are what cookies allow you to do. But by the same token, they also let people track you. So, you give and you get. It's there's no one simple solution. Cookies are bad, cookies are good. So it's now about, hey, how do we get this control into people's hands? Now, so not that Google is likely to mind much. The company reportedly stepped up its anti-tracking efforts in the wake of Facebook's Cambridge Analytica, and the damage done to the advertisers might be considered worth the trade-off if users put more trust in Google and stick to its software. Really, that's the point. Don't trust Google. Don't trust any tech company. We have been more than clear about that for a long time now. Don't trust any tech company. But moves like these, moves like Facebook has been making, to say that, hey, we at least we take notice that people are upset with our data collection practices. That's a good thing, regardless if you think that they're doing enough or if they should have been doing it in the first place and they're pulling back and you feel, angry that what they were doing at the beginning. But regardless, you should at least be happy that they acknowledge that there was a problem and they're working on it. So there you go. Okay. Very cool article. Again, just not often you see Google talking about limiting tracking and advertising. It's a very different way. Okay, this one popped up, and I really wouldn't normally give it too much thought, but because of the publication, I feel almost compelled to talk about this particular story. The Washington Post. There you go. They are great journalists. But I will say that this one let's see their supporting evidence, because what they've really, because what Alexa and Amazon really track isn't so much as I think what they're actually, kind of making it out to be. So we'll try to get through this in as quickly as possible, probably before the half-hour break. But let's go ahead and get into it. Alexa has been eavesdropping on you this whole time. That's the name of the article. If you want to check it out, it's going to be in the show notes. We're going to kind of highlight this by Jeffrey A. Fowler, and saying that would you let a stranger eavesdrop in your home and of course keep the recordings? And for most people, the answer is, are you crazy? Yet that's essentially what Amazon has been doing to millions of us with its assistant Alexa and microphone-equipped Echo speakers, and it's hardly alone, saying that bugging our homes is Silicon Valley's next frontier. Although next frontier, I'd say it's their current frontier. And obviously, that might just be splitting hairs, but ever since digital assistants have come onto the map, getting enough spoken information into machine learning algorithms has been the real challenge. So they're going to hoover it up wherever they can. Now, many smart speaker owners don't realize, but Amazon keeps a copy of everything Alexa records after it hears its name. Apple Siri and of course until recently Google Assistant by default also keep recordings to help train their artificial intelligences. So come with me on an unwelcome walk down memory lane. And of course, there you go. And so the author saying that, where they were talking to house guests, random snippets of Downton Abbey, spaghetti timer request, and so on and so forth. Essentially, anything you were talking about after you say the Alexa wake word, which would usually just be its name, it would then record after that. And to draw a parallel to a story that I recall about 2 or 3 years ago, it was a Samsung Smart TV, and they were upset because the microphone was always active. Like after digging into the hardware, the microphone's always active, just like with Alexa or any of the other smart speakers. Their microphones are always active, but they don't start recording or analyzing until you say their wake word, because the wake word is used to, kind of give it give it something to do. It turns on it turns on the programming necessary to heat your house, or to play music or whatever. So it's always listening for the wake up word, but it's not always recording. And I think that's the big thing I really want to get through to everyone here, is that, when the article from the Washington Post says the spy in your speaker, it's a bit heavy-handed for what it's really doing. And really, there's no other, the only other way that you could make this work is if you put a physical button, or you gave it some other way to wake up than using your voice. But that's the point of digital assistants, is that they activate your voice, you speak to them, you talk to them naturally, and that's how they operate. So it really wouldn't work any other way. Now, of course, the article points out, what can you do to stop Alexa from recording? Amazon's answer is straight out of Facebook's playbook. Customers have control, but the product design clearly isn't meeting our needs. You can manually delete past recordings if you know exactly where to look, and remember to keep going back. You cannot stop Amazon from making these recordings, aside from muting the Echo's microphone, which of course defeats its main purpose, or unplugging the whole thing, which means take it out of your home. Yeah. So obviously Amazon says it keeps recordings to improve products, not to sell them, but anytime personal data sticks around, it's a risk. Remember when the family that had Alexa sent the recording of a conversation to a random contact? Well, yeah, we've also seen judges issue warrants for Alexa recordings, which is true. We've seen both. It wasn't but 2 or 3 years ago since we saw a digital assistant be a witness in a murder trial, I believe in Australia. It's definitely happened before. So obviously that's completely justified. That part of the author's argument is completely justified, that these are recordings of people in their home having private conversations, and suddenly they're being stored on a third-party server, and as much as you want to believe that Amazon is perfect and they will never make mistakes security-wise or data-wise, that they will forever be perfect and spotless, that's just not the reality that we live in. And I don't know how much damage can actually be done from releasing, tens of millions of recordings of people in their home. Just like they said, that are going to be either nonsensical bits of conversation or TV in the background, or really just, asking people to set timers or play certain songs. But whatever damage can come from it, Amazon is making that possible by keeping the recordings. And of course, as I said way at the beginning, they keep the recordings to better train their digital assistants, so that they can better recognize voice, they can recognize their wake up command, they can handle accents better, they can handle muttered speech better. It's very important that they keep collecting this, so they're going to keep collecting it. There's a reason. There's a very monetarily focused reason to keep recording people. They're going to give you some control to delete it, but overall they know that it's not intuitive, it's not easy, and the majority of people out there, 99% of the people who maybe even read this article or own these things, are not going to delete their recordings. And they hope for that. That's exactly what they want. So with that being said, the article goes on a bit more into things like smart thermostats and other devices and how they are doing the exact same thing. And trust me, smart thermostats, they are just as sensitive as a microphone, because even though they may not be a microphone, they can track energy usage. They can track, people leaving or how many people are in a room. They're getting more and more capable as time goes on. So if you really don't like the idea of companies collecting data for their own purposes, then do not get smart devices. But they're going to be cheaper, more plentiful, and they're going to do more things and make your life convenient, so they're going to be much, much more attractive. So everyone, music in the background means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More Computer America, more computer and technology news right after this. Everyone, stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And everyone, welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour, and everyone, hey, why don't we go ahead and really dive into, well, Microsoft, because as I said before, they had a recent event, just happened today, like maybe 2 or 3 hours ago. So a lot has been announced, and Microsoft really has a lot of announcements. So we're going to skip from Microsoft to Microsoft to Microsoft, but we're going to do our best. So if you missed any of our stories earlier today, then you can go check out wherever podcasts are heard, search Computer America, and hey, we should pop right up with all of our shows, past, present, and future. Well, not future just yet, but yeah, hey, subscribe to us wherever you are. We try to really make an effort to be wherever it is you are, so you don't have to come to us. We'll come to you. Put your feet up. It'll be okay. Now, everyone, let's go ahead and get started with this one, and everyone's favorite, Microsoft Word. And when Microsoft messes with Microsoft Word, the reaction is swift and outrageous. People do not like their word processors mess with, which you can see when they implemented the ribbon back in like 2008 or something like that. Oh my God. The condemnation from the user base at large was that why would you mess with something that was already perfect? Well, we have grown to love and to hate the ribbon bar. Microsoft continues to tinker with Office and Word in particular, but check this one out. I actually like the idea of this one. Microsoft is about to challenge Grammarly, and not to mention Google, and Grammarly is a service, by the way, if you didn't know that, and on its home turf, saying that the company is developing an feature for Word's online version that uses artificial intelligence to suggest grammar changes, among other assists. That's right. For everyone out there who's one of those purists and says autocorrect is ruining spelling, or auto sentence completing is ruining people's ability to make complete thoughts, well, it's only going to get worse. In addition to catching basic errors, it can recommend rewriting phrases to improve concision, clarity, and inclusiveness. Your reporting might be more to the point and without requiring quite so much proofreading. Perfect. Ideas could be just as crucial for reading. And by the way, again, it's called Ideas. So it's Ideas, and it's a feature for Microsoft Word, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. So Ideas could be just as crucial for reading. The machine learning can estimate reading times, pluck the key points from a given text, and even explain acronyms. You might not have to skim an article if you don't have the time to read a long piece. So there you go. So instead of skimming over a large Microsoft document, maybe Ideas would just give you the gist of what it is that you're reading. And if you're wondering about the accuracy or the ability to do this, I've already seen some machine learning go into this kind of thing where they can reduce maybe a 1,1300 word article into like literally 3 bullet points. It's definitely possible. It gets the point across, and it's really, really great. So I'm looking forward to this. A Word Designer feature will help you style tables and other parts of the document. The technology should be available in preview form sometime this June, and everyday users in the fall, because you can sign up for either the cutting edge version where you are essentially a guinea pig, or you can just be a regular user. And again, sometime this fall, it should receive an update. And this is all for Microsoft Office 365, by the way, if you didn't catch that. However, many people use Word as a matter of course. Ideas could be a significant impact on productivity through Microsoft's sheer ubiquity in the personal computing world. And yeah, Microsoft Word is the de facto standard. No matter how good Google gets with their Google Docs and their Google Sheets and their Google PowerPoint, or whatever the heck you want to call it, Microsoft Office continues to be just the industry standard. So when they make moves like this, you really have to sit up and take notice. So I like that. Now, again, Microsoft to Microsoft, we have about 4 or 5 stories that we're just going to, kind of blaze right through. The next one is about Microsoft's digital assistant. We were just talking about digital assistants. Microsoft kind of has a really bad one. Cortana doesn't really do much. No one really relies on her. And when it comes to natural speech, the other assistants have Cortana beat just completely. Well, we may see a change to that. This is by Devendra Hardawar, and this is from Engadget. Microsoft's Cortana will eventually sound more like a real assistant, saying it's all thanks to new natural language technology. There you go, conversational AI. And yeah, so in this article here, they have a video that we probably can't play, but it's you can see, we're going to throw it up on screen. You can see it here, and you can go check it out within the article. But virtual assistants like Microsoft's Cortana, Amazon Alexa, and Google have finally made voice control computers a reality. But talking to them still feels basic. Shouting commands isn't exactly how you would interact with another human being, which is the point. You don't want to have to learn, the epitome of a voice control computer isn't that you have to learn how to talk to a computer. It's that a computer has to learn how to talk to a human. And that's what everyone's working on. Now, Microsoft gave us a glimpse at how Cortana could improve on that. And this is at the Build Developer Conference today. So the Build Developer Conference was Microsoft's big event. Using technology from Semantic Machines, a natural language startup Microsoft acquired last year, the company plans to let Cortana understand you in an organic way. In the demonstration, an executive strolled into her office while maintaining an ongoing conversation with Cortana. She was able to run down of her schedule, reschedule meetings while booking rooms, and find time to meet with colleagues, all while maintaining a realistic conversation with the virtual assistant. Cortana's responses sounded like actual humans, complete with ums, realistic language tics, and the executive never had to phrase things like a command. So obviously, when you talk to, let's say, imagine you are on one of those sitcoms or movies where you actually have a personal assistant. The idea is that you would talk to your digital assistant like you would an actual human assistant, and they would talk back to you in the same way. So that's what Microsoft is really trying to show off, and honestly, the demonstration, very, very impressive. So according to Microsoft CEO, Cortana's smarter conversations are a way to move beyond the brittle command-based interactions we have in voice assistants today. He likens it to the open web, where every browser can view most experiences. The whole demo interaction basically sounded like a phone conversation between two people. It's the sort of thing that the author has dreamed of since his introduction to Knight Rider, but it remains to be seen if Microsoft can actually deliver on this demo. And that's another good point. Demos are not really indicative of what you actually get. Anyone can make a demo work really, really well. My favorite story about how demos are kind of cheating, really, or even false advertising. Apple's first iPhone. If you go back and you watch Steve Jobs present the first iPhone at when he debuted it on stage, there was a glitch, a bug, there was something wrong with the hardware or the software side of it, where whenever they would change applications on the phone, the whole thing would crash. So to avoid this, you see Steve Jobs actually walk off stage between every application, and they had multiple iPhones with multiple applications open so that they could swap them off stage and show people how it worked. Obviously, they fixed it before it launched, but it just goes to show that a demo, regardless of how good it looks, isn't a real world situation. It shows the idea, it shows the possibility. It does not show the reality of what you're actually buying. But hey, Cortana is a free digital assistant. If you have a Microsoft computer and you are currently running Windows 10, which the majority of you are, you already have Cortana at your fingertips. If she worked better, if she was more efficient, I'd be completely for that. Because Cortana would fast become the number one digital assistant, or at least the most used digital assistant out there on the market, because she's already in everyone's computer. So very, very cool. And again, Microsoft. Now, Microsoft to Microsoft. Let's go ahead and switch on over to this one just real quick. I'm sure that this will affect a slim minority of you. But for everyone out there today, here it is. I'm sorry, wrong article. We'll cover that one too. For those of you who don't know, Microsoft unveils a new Windows terminal, a new command line app for Windows. So if you are one of those users that still has to use a command line to use the PowerShell, command, Windows subsystem for Linux, Microsoft is adding multiple tab support alongside theming and customization for developers who want to tweak the terminal app. Windows Terminal will also support emoji and GPU-based text rendering. Microsoft unveiled the new text terminal app during the company's Build Developer Conference today, and the software giant is planning to make it available in mid-June, and it marks Microsoft's latest effort to improve the developer environment on Windows 10, which is great because until about 2 years ago, the Windows developer environment looked suspiciously like Windows 3.1, Windows 95, Windows 98. It's really, there wasn't much change. So ever since Microsoft moved over to Linux for their terminal and their PowerShell, well, hey, it's getting better. And this is yet another update to make things much more user-friendly. Microsoft has also previously added the Linux command line to Windows 10 alongside adding native OpenSSH to the operating system and even listing Ubuntu in the Windows Store. So Microsoft is getting real cozy with Linux and Ubuntu and the command line and all that good stuff. I think developers are really going to enjoy this. So good move for Microsoft. But again, just a quick article. This other one, kind of the same thing, small minority of you. Microsoft announced today the preview of Visual Studio Online. an online code editor the company is positioning as a companion to Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. If you've never used Visual Studio, it's a way to compile code and to either run code or program. It was kind of like my first introduction, and really it's what a lot of people use to either learn or actually work on these things. Well, the service is, of course, I'm sorry, 1 second. Here we go. The service is based on the Visual Studio Code, Microsoft's popular free and open source desktop code editor. This means that Visual Studio Online will also support all the extensions that are currently available for Visual Studio Code, as well as popular features like Visual Studio Code workspaces. The emphasis here is on Visual Studio Code Online being a companion. It's not meant to become the developer's default environment, but instead make it a way to make a quick edit, review a pull request, or join a live share session. So again, productivity features. I think that was the real name of the game when it came to Microsoft at their Build Developer Conference today. It's worth noting that if you don't want to wait for Microsoft to open the private preview for more users, there are also startups like Coder that can provide you with a remote Visual Studio Code environment. So this is good. This is definitely good. And obviously it behooves Microsoft, because the more people that get versed in this, the more people that use it, the more they will insist that the companies who they work for then say, hey, why don't we just use Microsoft's product as opposed to someone else's? It benefits Microsoft in the long run, and it benefits all of us because, hey, we get free coding environments. Very, very nice. Now, the last one from Microsoft, and then I promise we'll move on to other things. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with this one. And I like the sentiment. I just don't know how Microsoft's going to pull this one off. Microsoft wants you to work less. Period. End of story. This one from TechCrunch, from Frederic Lardanos. I apologize, but Microsoft today pressed updates to its My Analytics platform and a new Outlook feature that are meant to help you work less, find more time to focus on the work that actually matters, and by extension, get you more downtime. Until now, for example, My Analytics, which is Microsoft's tool for helping employees track their productivity, would provide you with a measure of how much time you spent working after hours. That's not exactly a healthy number to track. Going forward, My Analytics will track the number of days you managed to unplug after work and didn't check your email or work on a document at 8 p.m. The idea here, obviously, is to get employees to focus on this number instead of how much they work when they are off the clock. Makes sense. So to combat this, actually, they have a quote here from Microsoft Communications Chief saying that, quote, "Our customers often tell us they spend all day in meetings with little time to focus on pressing tasks and projects." So, end quote. And to combat this, the company today launched a new feature that will help set up regular focus time. And the first of this is a tool that lets you set up focus time each week, as well as a feature in Microsoft Teams that alerts your fellow employees when you are trying to get things done. I.e., sounds kind of like a do not disturb feature, which is great, but should have been there a while ago. Now, because your colleagues often don't care about your flow, though, and are prone to scheduling yet another unnecessary meeting during those times, Microsoft is also launching a new AI-powered Outlook plugin that will help you rebook your focus time and find times for refocusing on specific to-do items. So I guess that means that if you look at your calendar, maybe Microsoft will say, hey, you don't have anything happening from 1 to 4 p.m. on Thursday. Maybe we should dedicate this time to this project that you had scheduled on Tuesday that now conflicts with something else. Again, great. It's artificial intelligence, machine learning. It's, essentially automation, but automation to improve productivity, which is what you want. So overall, obviously, this sounds great for Microsoft. I hope to see a lot of this come to fruition, but there you go. Okay. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and switch off of Microsoft and yeah, let's check out some of these other ones. Okay, our next story. How about we talk about SpaceX? Let's do some stories that should amaze and astound you. SpaceX Delivered. Check this out. Not just one, not just two, not just one, not just two, not just three, not just four, but 5.5 or 5,500 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station today. And that's right, none of you were probably in that 5,500 pounds of cargo. But check it out. A SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft successfully made its way to the International Space Station with approximately 5,500 pounds of NASA cargo and science experiments. It launched Sunday from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida, and it arrived today, joining 5 other spacecraft currently docked to the station. It must be getting really busy over there. But I digress. SpaceX recently confirmed that its Dragon capsule, meant to carry crew to the International Space Station, was destroyed in a test last month, but things seem to be going better for the company's supply launches. On this trip, SpaceX carried significant more tonnage than it did on the first supply run, in which its Crew Dragon delivered 400 pounds of supplies and a human-shaped Ripley test device. There you go. Obviously, the science experiments included on this mission will allow astronauts to measure CO2 from space, explore how microalgae might improve recycling aboard the space station, and speed up organ-on-chip experiments and study Regoliath, the dusty fragment debris covering asteroids and moons. So a lot of cool stuff, but really the thing that I want to get here is that SpaceX has been experimenting and working on and getting better and better at delivering more cargo and eventually people to the International Space Station. And what that means for everyone, whether or not you plan on being an astronaut or not, it means that we can get more stuff, more people into space for cheaper. And that's just what we want to hear about the future of space exploration. So there you go. Yeah. That's all we have for that one. I really enjoy what SpaceX is doing. I mean, just any kind of it's kind of good that we consider, rocket launches and space, and space exploration and living in space to be pretty mundane. But I hope it never becomes too boring. It's great that it becomes every day. It's not great that it should ever be boring. So kudos to SpaceX for successfully launching 5,500 pounds into space. That is a massive cargo. Okay, now with that one, hey, how about this one? So this isn't space, but it's space age technology. Lasers. What do you know about them? They are beams of light. They're very hot, and hey, yeah, they're in movies because I guess shooting bullets is too dramatic and too realistic. You shoot lasers. Might have to change that soon because now lasers have successful. Okay, let's start with this. The United States Air Force successfully tested a laser system to shoot down missiles. That's right. Saying that the system is designed to eventually be used on airplanes. That's right. Airplanes will be equipped with missile destroying lasers. This is awesome. So the U.S. Air Force announced that it had successfully used a laser weapon to shoot down multiple missiles while in flight. And the system is designed to eventually be mounted on aircraft to be used to protect the vehicle from attacks. The Air Force Research Laboratory conducted the test at the U.S. Army's White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico in April. So if you were living in White Sands, then hey, you know what those explosions were about. The system, called the Self-Protect High Energy Laser Demonstrator, or SHIELD for short, was used from the ground and was used to shoot down multiple air-launched missiles in flight, saying that the Air Force Laboratory Commander, Major General William Cooley, said that this test is a big step ahead for directed energy systems and protection against adversarial threats. Sounds like military speak for our lasers are getting better, and this is going to help us beat up people, or at least, protect us against the bad guys. So there you go. The system is intended to eventually be mounted on aircraft where it can be used to shoot down incoming surface-to-air or air-to-air launched missiles. It includes 3 major components, including the laser system, a control system to aim the said laser, and a pod that would power everything, which would, of course, then be mounted onto an aircraft. The laboratory highlights some of the advantages of such a system to bring that such a system would bring to the table. It would be highly accurate and instantaneously hit targets, wouldn't have a limited magazine, and would allow pilots to re-aim to hit additional targets quickly. And it may not be susceptible to traditional counter-attack methods like flares or jamming devices. That said, the system won't be foolproof. Saying, of course, weather could potentially interfere with the effectiveness. So obviously, how it shoots down a missile using a laser, these lasers are incredibly powerful. They have a lot of energy behind them. And think of like a magnifying glass with the sun, and you get to burn up all those ants. Well, same kind of principle, except instead of a magnifying glass in the sun, it's lasers, a giant battery, and a lot of energy being pushed into that laser. And I've seen tests that from drones that can actually set cars on fire. Like you can actually disable vehicles using lasers from the sky. And that same kind of technology, I'm sure, is used to hit the warhead, superheat, get it really, really hot, and either knock it off course or completely destroy it. Like it just pumps so much energy, so many electrons get fired at it. It's like sticking it in a microwave, or just bombarding it with high energy photons, and hey, next thing you know, burst into flames. It's a wonderful thing if you are, it's a wonderful thing if you're a pilot and you are anywhere near enemy missiles. So there you go. And yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up the article by saying that Shield also not the only laser technology that's in testing by the U.S. military. The U.S. Army tested a system mounted on an Apache attack helicopter last summer, and the Navy is working with Lockheed Martin on its own system to install on warships. So lasers in combat situations are going to become more and more common. It's just going to be a thing. So, all right, let's, man, I should have done this when we did the Microsoft stuff. So I really want to get into this real quick. This is from ZDNet, and this will probably take us out through the end of the show. But just real quick, if you haven't heard, Microsoft Edge wasn't doing so well. So Microsoft said that, hey, we're going to redesign Edge with Chromium in mind. And so, because the Chrome browser is the most popular browser, it will essentially just be a reskinned Chrome browser, but it will be Microsoft Edge. So the bigger question is, what do you get with that? So that's why we are going to include this article in the show notes. Not going to be able to get through it today, but essentially, they're saying that there's no indication that these features will be ported to the Edge release planned for macOS and others. But hey, check it out. The upcoming release of Microsoft Edge based on the open source project Chromium. The new features are specifically targeted at PCs running Edge on Windows 10. For enterprise administrators, there will be the addition of Internet Explorer mode. And those of you who don't know, yes, the latest version of Microsoft Edge will have a Windows Microsoft Explorer mode. Windows Explorer will not die, but doesn't matter. Microsoft also announced that the new Edge will include additional privacy controls that will restrict the ability for third-party sites to track you, much like Chrome is looking to do. The functionality is similar to third-party ad and tracker blocking extensions like AdBlock Plus and more. A similar feature, privacy filtering, Microsoft says they will also include a feature called Collections, where the company touts as an antidote to information overload. The feature will reportedly allow Edge users to collect, organize, and share and export content more efficiently and with Office integration. So everyone, go check out that article. It's going to be super important, but overall, I like what Microsoft announced today. So everyone, music in the background means that we're just about done. Thank you so much for tuning into the Computer America Show. If you miss any part of today's show, check out the podcast or computeramerica.com. We'll have the archives up. And until next time, have a great day. Catch you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Everyone, have a great one. Bye-bye.